Hello YouTube, my name is Wart and welcome to another video of our Still Not A Millionaire series, where today we'll start to see our first company and we'll start to do a more deeper analysis. As I mentioned previously, we will be focusing more on the Portuguese market because I think that the US market has still a lot of uncertainty associated, and we can, in my opinion, identify several better opportunities in other markets that aren't so trending at the moment, but still have good investments. Okay, so let's jump right in and see what we have for today. Coming to our trading view, our shorting platform, we will do our usual analysis of the week. Okay, so as you can see, once again the US market seems to be consolidating. There were some news that introduced some volatility to markets. For example, I think it was on Tuesday that Donald Trump announced that they were cutting off, or at least stepping back a little bit on the stimulus measures, but during the same day the opposite news came public, and the market eventually dissipated the losses that it had registered. Okay, so as you can see, the same situation continues in the US market. In the Portuguese market, it was a green week, okay, with several candles closing higher, but if we see in net terms, since the opening on Monday till the closing on the Friday, we see that the market has gained around 1.4, almost 1.4%, which is not bad, okay, for a week. But still, we are at a relatively low value for the index. Okay, it has bounced around here. It seems that there is a sort of support around there at 4,000 points. Okay, but well, it's still relatively cheap compared to the US market, for example. And the company that I've planned to analyze with you here today is REN. Okay, currently the website is not working, but I will tell you just in brief, in just minutes, what REN does. For those of you that don't live in Portugal, REN is basically responsible for the electrical and the telecommunications and natural gas structure, okay, in Portugal. So that means that it has a very relevant position, a very dominant position, and everything that is related to electricity or to the transmission of natural gas or even telecommunications passes through REN. Okay, so it has an important role in the transmission of this kind of utilities, and in the past years, from what I've seen, it has continuously made a lot of investments to increase its position, not only in Portugal but also acquiring some stakes in Iberian operators. Okay, that aims to consolidate its position as an important player in this market, at least in the Iberian, in Portugal and Spain. Okay, but mostly in Portugal. As you can see here, 95% of the revenue from REN comes from Portugal. Okay, so this is the main market of this company. As I've said, the main source of money is obviously the distribution and management of Portuguese electricity and gas infrastructure. Okay, also telecommunications, but well, this is the main source of revenues. Some key numbers. Okay, as I said previously, they are making a lot of investments, not only in Portugal, also on some international investments, but still on a smaller scale. We'll see more on that later on. The main cost is obviously associated with the maintenance of the infrastructure, okay, and there are in fact some risks, as they also state in the report, in the annual report of 2019, that is associated with adverse weather that make this task of managing the infrastructure a bit harder and can even cause some damage on the infrastructure, requiring some maintenance investments. Okay. Regarding the industry, of course, the electricity and the power industry in general is expected to turn to become more focused on renewable solutions, okay, because there are a lot of goals that the governments have established to become carbon neutral, and the REN is pretty aware of that, at least from what I've saw. And it seems that the company is aware that this is the future, and it is also doing some efforts to, namely, for example, when regarding the investments they are choosing, they are selecting investments that are adequate to this goal. For example, they also state in their report that Portugal wants to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Will it achieve? I don't know. I think that, well, it's easy to establish these goals for long term, and then, well, we'll see. Because when we reach in 30 years from now, well, probably these goals were already postponed a lot. But, well, it's better to take a step forward and then do nothing at all. Okay, so but overall, I think that the company is aware of the future trends that are awaited for the power industry in general. Okay, as you can see, we also saw the price chart before, but I just placed a print screen here in order to keep it present during the analysis, and the price is currently as close at €2.39. Okay, and this seems to be a sort of in the average price. Okay, so if we establish here simple moving average, or for example 200 days, I think that the price would be close to that value. And the company also distributes annual dividends, and we will also see if they are good or not, if they are attractive or not. From the report, I also placed here some key insights. The report has a lot of pages. Okay, I think that 420 pages, which is a lot, and of course I haven't saw all of them. I kind of made this analysis in like 1 hour, so feel free to comment below if you know something about REN that I might be missing. But overall, as I said previously, REN is investing a lot in other companies, okay, in other projects. In 2017, for example, I acquired a portion of another company that is related to the distribution production of natural gas. Okay, it also has made some recent investments in Chile, acquiring a small electricity distributor, I guess. Okay, regarding its capital structure, its major position is owned by State Grid of China, which I've searched here. State Grid of China. It's a major company from China. Okay, largest utility company in the world, and as of 2019, the world's 5th largest company overall by revenue. Okay, so it's pretty large company and has some stakes in some companies around the world. Okay, for example, here in Portugal, as we have saw from the report, it has a 25% stake at REN. In Australia also has some stake, and also in Brazil, Chile, and so on. Okay, so it is a major player in this industry. I don't think that there are any significant risks associated to this, by the fact that well, this is a major company and is pretty much related to the industry and must have a lot of know-how of how it works, and I don't think that there are any major risks associated with this. Okay, but overall there are also a lot of smaller ownerships obtained by several shareholders. Okay. Regarding the most recent events that the company has shared in its 2019 report. Okay, we have a plan that is that will occur from 2018 to 2027. Okay, that basically will serve to develop the the national electricity transmission network. Okay, and that's a total capital expenditure of more than 500 million euros. Okay, which is a lot. And also, for example, if you are concerned about the financial stability, of course, this is not the greatest rating at all, but well, at least it is. It seems to be stable, okay, and maintaining the outlook positive. And Fitch is well. We could do a deeper analysis on the finances of the company, but since our main focus is to be able to do a quick analysis and just see if we want to place a toehold in the company by acquiring some shares, and well, it also acts as a motivation to learn more about the company. But since we want to do a quick analysis, I think that this is a good sign that at least there is some stability, that some financial stability on about in this company. Okay. It also has some other investments that you can see on the annual report. Okay, but what one important thing to know, of course, when analyzing a company, if there are a lot of industries, and each industry will have its own KPIs, key performance indicators, and it is important to see at least the evolution and see if there are some positive trends, and try to explain why some negative periods. So try to explain why the company has faced some negative periods, because these are the ultimate drivers of growth. Okay, for example, regarding consumption, it seems that it has been growing well. The growth isn't so significant as that, but well, at least it's stable. Okay, and this is one of the things that I look for in this company, is stability. Okay, because if I take a position, it will be for the long term in this company. But at least consumption seems to be okay. As you can see, it also justifies why I've said previously that it has a major position in the utility sector of Portugal. Okay, and this pretty much justifies the statement that I've said. Okay, annual variation in electricity consumption for me is not that relevant. Okay, but it tends to be relatively stable. Installed capacity has been growing. Okay, which means that also the company has been making consistent investments and expanding its dominance in the market. Then, for example, the same is seen if we see the length of lines. Okay, that was it has been increasing almost every year. And average interruption time is something important in the utilities market, because well, it is distributing this type of product. Let's say it requires it requires a lot of efficiency in the distribution chain. So we want this average interruption time to be the smallest possible. It had quite some increase from 2017 to 2018, but I don't think that this is significant. Of course, I'm no expert in this industry, but at least I don't think that it is something that we should be too much concerned about. Okay, going to our financial data, I've gathered some of the most relevant variables here. Okay, I'm using Yahoo Finance because, as I said in the previous videos, it is a good it is a good place to search for a summary of the most relevant information. You have news, you have statistics, analyst estimates, and so on. And instead of going to the 400-page report, I usually prefer to go to this sort of sites, even though we lose some even though these numbers won't be as precise as the ones we would obtain if we watch directly the financial reports, okay, but this also already gives some great some great general values that we can use in order to make our first estimates, okay. Regarding revenue, it has been it had decreased in 2017 and 2018, but well, it had a significant growth in 2019. Okay, I've already picked at the report of the first half of 2020, and it wasn't that great. I don't know, some not necessarily revenue, but in terms of net income, because while COVID has also impacted at least some at some degree the normal operations of RAN, okay, regarding layoffs and well, some investments had to be paused, and it of course impacted the net income of the company. But regarding revenue, there is a recent positive evolution, okay. This isn't necessarily reflected in the operating income, which means that well, there is something here that might be missing the company, okay, because even though revenues have increased significantly, operating income has decreased, okay, which means that there is a contraction of the margins. Let's see if this will continue in the future or not. And net income, nevertheless, net income has increased to some degree. Okay, so there is some loss of efficiency here in the operational side, but then the company must have paid less taxes and less interest, and it allowed to still verify some increase in the net income, which is okay. Nevertheless, regarding the return on invested capital, the company shows to be able to have a reasonable return, okay, because this is a stable company in a mature market, even though it is making some additional investments in new acquisitions, in new projects regarding the renewable segment of the industry. Well, the return is usually limited, but it has been positive and close to 4%, let's say, because well, remember that these are of course rough estimates, and these are only the key values, and I'm not digging too deep into these values. Okay, but overall we have a recent growth rate, a positive growth rate in revenues. Okay, which means that the company, even though despite the dimension of the market, it is being able to well at least maintain some stability on its revenues, and also return on invested capital is shows to be relatively stable. Okay, and if we do a quick DCF analysis, just taking the free cash flow, just seeing the most recent free cash flows and perpetuating it to the future at a certain perpetuity growth rate that I've set to 3.5%, taking into consideration the inflation rate of 2% and a real growth rate of the economy around 1.5%. Okay, we would reach a value of this dimension. But if you see here, the free cash flow received from verified at 2019 was pretty high, and while in the previous years it was around 100 million euros, okay, this time it has increased a lot, more than doubled. Okay, and well, instead of using this cash flow that in my opinion is too high and probably won't be so sustainable in the future, I used a sort of normalized free cash flow to form that is simply the average between these two values and reaching a perpetuity value of this amount. Okay, then if we take the net debt, using it as a sort of proxy for the market value of debt, we will reach a total equity value of around this of this amount, and dividing it by the number of ordinary shares, that is the total number of shares issued by the company, we would reach a target price per share, total value per share, let's say, of 3.42 cents. 3 euros and 42 cents, I'm sorry. That comparing to the latest closing price means a potential upside of 43%. Well, of course, this is just a quick analysis, and probably we would be able to get a better proxy of the value per share if we dive more deeply into the numbers, but I think that there is a lot of potential, and I'm being conservative in some points. Of course, the free cash flow was really high in this year, but I'm using a sort of normalized in order to accommodate for this. Also, the perpetuity growth rate, we tend to assume that it can be comprehended between 2% and 5%, depending on the rate that we assume for the GDP growth, okay, the real GDP growth. But well, nevertheless, I think that there is upside potential, and in addition to this, the dividend is currently very attractive to me. The most recent dividend, I think, was distributed in June or at the end of May, okay, and it was 17 cents per share, which makes a total dividend yield of more than 7%. But how have I calculated this dividend yield? Basically, you just need to divide the dividend per share by the share price, okay? It's basically the return that you will receive in the form of dividends, considering the price that you entered in this stock, okay? And if we also consider, we can, depending on your own strategy, you can also try to consider if the price is closer or too far away from its all-time high and all-time low. As you can see, this target price is, well, kind of adequate if we see the all-time high, okay, it's between this range, but nevertheless this has happened, this all-time high has happened only in 2007, okay. Of course, this was a quick analysis, but I truly believe that this will be the first stock I will be acquiring, so I will pay some additional attention to the price movement of this stock during the next week. So make sure to stay connected, and I will show you how to acquire, if you also want to invest in this stock, how to acquire some shares of REN, I think in the Giro platform. So make sure to subscribe, leave your like, and I will see you then.